Rogue Sun, issue number 11 from Image Comics. So yeah, we get another issue of Rogue Sun, and once again, this series kind of falls into the same issues that all the other Massiverse series kind of falls under. Terrible characters, very, very poor pacing, and in the case of this issue, trying to achieve something that it hasn't earned. And you might be wondering what exactly I mean by that. Well, I'll explain it as we go along. In the last issue, Hellbent, the new villain, basically forced Dylan. I say force, but not really. He basically told Dylan, hey, get me this quill. It's the feather of the last phoenix. And if you don't, I'm going to come kill you. And so rather than deciding, hey, why don't I go find some other people with powers that might be able to help me? Instead, he decides, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go steal this quill and I'm going to pretend to give it to Hellbent, but I'm really going to attack him. It's like, we all know where this is going. Hellbent's going to kick his ass and take the quill. So yeah, this issue starts off with him talking to the Raven Queen, and he wants the quill. And she basically explains that the quill is the last feather of the last phoenix. It has the ability to walk between worlds, and once people discovered that ability, they hunted it down to extinction, and now this single feather is all that remains. To cut everything short, she basically says, if you want this feather, then you have to fight my personal bodyguard, who is the guy in the Plague Doctor mask, and if you can beat him, then I will give you the quill. And so we get a bunch of other stuff. We get Hellbent getting a bunch of drug dealers to sell more drugs that he's going to get a cut of. We see the prom where we see Dylan's quote-unquote friends. Basically, it's the kid that Dylan just bullies. We see him with his prom date. We see Dylan's ex. And most of this is just Dylan taking on the Plague Doctor. And he beats him. There you go. Like, I don't know. It just... Here's a guy, Dylan, who got his ass kicked by Hellbent. Meanwhile, Hellbent got chased off by the Plague Doctor. You think, okay, if Hellbent's scared of the Plague Doctor, then why... And he's able to beat Dylan easily. How does Dylan stand a chance? It's not really explained. It's just more like Caleb, the spirit of the first Rogue Sun, creates this sword for Dylan and causes a distraction. And it doesn't really explain, like Dylan just does this thing where like fire comes out of his chest and then the Plague Doctor guy dies, but we don't really see him die. He's not dead, like he can reanimate and stuff. But yeah, it's just a really quick, easy fight. Like the fight lasts a couple pages. You would think, like, I don't know, maybe build this tension, especially since the series sets up that, or this issue sets up that if Dylan doesn't beat this Plague Doctor, who's supposed to be like really, really freaking good, then Dylan has to give up his Rogue Sun powers. And the Raven Queen's going to give it to someone more worthy. And at that point in time, like when she said that, I was like, oh, please, Dylan, please lose. Please lose so we can get another main character. Because Dylan is just a really poor protagonist. He doesn't really have many redeeming qualities. The series tries to tell us that he does, because we have his ex talking to her prom date, where she says Dylan is two different people. One side is sweet and caring, has been through a lot of trouble, and the other side is vicious, conceited, and only cares about himself. And all I can think is, where has the first Dylan been? We have never seen sweet, caring Dylan. Dylan has been nothing but conceited and just a grade A asshole. Like, there's nothing good about Dylan. So I don't know. It just kind of bugged me that this guy that's supposed to be like built up as this big bodyguard gets beaten pretty easily. But Dylan gets his quill, yada yada yada. Hellbent, the villain, he apparently gets told from the demon, the supernatural force, the moth, whatever you want to call it, the thing that granted him his powers. He basically tells him that it's time to send Dylan a message. And that message is to go attack the people at the prom. And that's like how the whole cliffhanger ends. It's like, oh no, these people at the prom are in danger. First off, we know nothing's going to happen because it would take some balls for them to actually pull something there. And I don't think the writers have it in them to do that. But also just the fact that what I mean by is trying to earn something it hasn't achieved. It's trying to earn this sense of drama and like, oh no, these characters are in danger. What's going to happen? Tune in next time. But the thing is, it hasn't worked for those. By that I mean, these characters are basically just NPCs. They're pretty much strangers. Like we've had very little interaction with Dylan and these characters at the prom, and the very few interactions we have was Dylan either being an a-hole or completely bullying them. So why would I get the feeling that Dylan cares about these people? Why should I care about these people? Like these people are just they're just background characters. So the whole sense of trying to end this cliffhanger, like the cliffhanger is supposed to be like, oh, I have to know what happens next. I don't care what happens next. I don't care that these people are in danger because I don't care about these characters because you haven't done anything to make me care about them. So that's what I mean by it's trying to achieve something it hasn't earned. It hasn't earned the right to put a cliffhanger with these characters in danger because it hasn't done anything to make me care about these characters. So it's not a cliffhanger because I don't care. I'm not sitting here waiting like, oh my God, I wonder what's going to happen next. I mean, you can kind of already tell what's going to happen next. Dylan's going to show up. He's probably going to fight Hellbent. He's going to end up saving the day, probably, or at least by saving the day, no one's going to get killed in this incident, I don't think. And Dylan's going to lose his quill because his plan is very, very stupid. His plan of, I'm going to get this quill, I'm going to bring it to Hellbent, and then I'm going to confront him and beat him. It's like, okay, that's your plan. You're going to take this dangerous item, and you're going to basically give the villain an opportunity to get it. I mean, here's the thing. If the villain could have gotten the quill, he would have done so already. So the fact that he's forcing you to do it should kind of tell you that the quill is probably safe where it's at right now. Now you're taking it into a situation where it's going to easily get stolen because you suck as a hero. You're absolutely terrible. Here's another thing, like with the pacing. We have not done anything to really show Dylan trying to work out his powers. Like we haven't done the whole training arc that you see in a lot of shonen manga series. It's just Dylan fumbling around, being a complete unlikable a-hole, not trying to get help from anybody. And anytime people try to help him, he pushes them away. Yeah, there's nothing here to really enjoy. I guess you can say the artwork's not bad, but that's kind of it. The characters are all kind of terrible. Caleb is fine. Like, Caleb is an okay character so far. He hasn't done anything for me to dislike him. He would have made a lot better, like a better protagonist than Dylan. We have like a moment here where Dylan kind of complains about his father and how his father like never really helped him, how his father sees him as a disappointment. Like how basically like if he were to save a bunch of orphans from a burning building, his father would be disappointed that he got them dirty. Like there's nothing he can do to make his father proud of him. And even Mart remarks that his father called him the expendable child. Like the only reason he has heroics and powers is because he didn't want to put the kids that he did truly love in danger. So he gave it to Dylan because he didn't really care what happened to Dylan. And Caleb tells this story that I actually really like, where he mentioned that his father was like a quiet gentleman, and how one day these like noblemen came and they kidnapped his 11-year-old sister, and they went to take her away. And how the father didn't say anything, like the father just allowed it to happen. And how Caleb, who was only like, so he said he was half Dylan's age, so Dylan is about 17, 18. So Caleb would have been around like 8, 9 years old. He picked up a sword. He went after the nobleman. He cut down like half of the nobleman's guards before the nobleman said, I will give you your sister back, but in return, I want you to work for me. You become my guard, you work for me. You can have your sister back. So Caleb gets his sister back, takes her home. The mom's really happy. The dad is really quiet, and it's because the dad's ashamed of being a coward and not fighting for his child. And because of that, the father never talked to Caleb ever again, not even on his deathbed. So it's like, okay, We get a little bonding moment here where two characters have terrible fathers in a sense. What you could have is you can have Caleb kind of be the father figure for Dylan and help him grow as a person, not just as a Rogue Sun superhero, but also as a person in general, like become a better man. That could have been something you could have done. Maybe they're still gonna do it, but at this point in time, it's like way too late. Like we're about to be 12 issues in with the next issue. So if it takes you 12 issues just to start having the beginnings of a character arc for your main character, you're doing something wrong. And that's if, because again, we still haven't seen anything that Dylan's gonna grow in any way. We keep getting like little moments where it's like, oh, maybe he is. Oh no, never mind. He just kind of regresses back to the status quo of how he was in the very first issue. I don't know. Hopefully things will change and things will get better, but I have no faith in this writing team. I don't know if I want to even blame the writing team. I think it's the editor, because this has been an issue with every single Massiverse series minus Inferno Girl Red. But the thing you got to remember is that Inferno Girl Red started off as a Kickstarter. I don't think the editor that works on the Massiverse had anything to do with Inferno Girl Red. I could be wrong. I didn't look it up myself, but this is just what I think. Who knows? All I know is that like Kyle Higgins, the writer from Radiant Black, when he's working on other projects for other publishers like Marvel and stuff, he seems to do a lot better job when it comes to the tokusatsu genre. When he's working with Image on Radiant Black, he has a lot of issues that he doesn't seem to have with other publishers, which makes me believe that these are writers that really need the editors to kind of rein them in. Not to say, like, I'm going to use the George Lucas example, not to say that they're, as great as coming up with stuff as George Lucas, but just the fact that George Lucas, when he had people telling him, no, you should do this, don't do that, when he had people to like kind of rein him in and cage him on his ideas, whether it be the like Joseph Campbell or just like the other writers and editors for the original Star Wars, or whether it be like Steven Spielberg when it came to Indiana Jones. Like when he had someone else to kind of rein him in, he was a great storyteller. But when he had free reign, that's when you got the prequel garbage and the unused Indiana Jones scripts. For anyone like who's not familiar, there have been other Indiana Jones series that George Lucas has written that have not been made, like Indiana Jones and the Martians. Yes, that's an actual thing. Indiana Jones in a haunted castle taking on, I think it's like Son Goku, like the spirit of Son Goku or something. Like it's terrible scripts, and it's because he needs someone to rein him in. And I feel like maybe that's what the writers for Massiverse are, because there's so many problems with just terrible characters, absolutely garbage pacing. The pacing in the Massiverse for every series, minus Inferno Girl Red, has just been absolute dog crap. And I think it's the editing. I think the editor is not reining these people in. But yeah, I'm kind of like just rambling on that now. But yeah, this was just another just nothing issue. I won't say it was terrible. I guess it's a slight step up. Is it a slight step up with the previous issue? Nah, it's about the same. It's just, there's nothing here. This series, there's nothing to really hook you in. There's nothing here that can kind of keep me going. Like the only reason I'm continuing to read this is just because of its connections to the Massiverse. And like I mentioned before, I don't want to like have some kind of big event or something happen with the Massiverse. Like I'm too far in to just leave. I kind of want to see where this goes. And also I just want to make sure that I'm kind of kept up on everything that's going on with the Massiverse. Like if there's like another one shot, or if something happens in Radiant Black that was foretold in one of the other series, I don't want to be lost. So that's another reason I'm reading this. But if it wasn't for that, I would have dropped this series long ago, because it has done nothing to keep me engaged. And there you go. I guess I'm just going to stop here before I just continue my rant. This is terrible. It's a terrible series. It doesn't seem like it's going to be getting any better. The pacing is all over the place. It's trying to do things that it hasn't earned. It's trying to do some like emotional moments like, oh no, these characters could be in danger from Hellbent. But why should we care? You've done nothing to make us care for these characters at all. They've been background characters for the entire series so far. And what little interaction we've had with them has not been positive in any way. So why should I care what happens to these characters? It's like stuff like that. Characters not growing, no character arcs whatsoever. Maybe tiny hints that there could possibly might be one, but then it goes nowhere. And it just kind of feels like a psych out. So yeah, just terrible all around. Don't recommend. There you go. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. So what'd you guys think of that video? Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe, hit that bell for notification, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you didn't enjoy the video, thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next video is more to your liking. Feel free to check out the playlists that you guys see, and I hope to see you guys next time. Later.